The Biden administration denounces China's apparent retaliation on the Trump administration, calling Beijing's recent sanctions on former White House officials unproductive and cynical. China's foreign ministry spokesperson says the past few years weren't easy. The comment follows President Trump's departure from the White House. Biden's administration intends to maintain U.S. membership in the World Health Organization. One U.S. lawmaker says American taxpayers shouldn't fund the organization. A Chinese messaging app is found to read users' private information. Some of it is even uploaded to the web. And the Chinese Communist Party builds a village of more than 100 houses in a disputed area. The move further strains tensions on the China-India border. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The Biden administration called China's recent move to sanction former Trump administration officials unproductive and cynical. The Chinese regime sanctioned outgoing Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and 27 other Trump officials. It banned them from entering China and restricted companies tied to them from doing business in China. President Biden's National Security Council spokeswoman told Reuters that by imposing these sanctions on Inauguration Day, the Chinese regime may attempt to play to partisan divides. The administration urged Americans from both parties to condemn the move. Biden's pick for defense secretary affirms Communist China poses a threat to the country. NTD's Penny Zhou has more.
During the Senate confirmation hearing, Senator Josh Hawley pressed retired General Lloyd Austin on if he would recognize China as the country's principal threat.
Can you commit to us that as you oversee the next NDS, that China will be unequivocally identified as the top challenge, threat, competitor of the United States?
Yeah, clearly, the strategy will be arrayed against the threat, and China presents the most significant threat going forward because China is ascending. Russia is also a threat, but it's in decline.
He characterized China as a pacing threat. He said he would update the national defense strategy to reflect that if he's confirmed. In 2018, the Trump administration published the National Defense Strategy. It stresses the need to prepare for high-end conflict with China and Russia. Austin said China has modernized its weapons and wants to become the world's preeminent power in the near future. He added the U.S. needs to start checking its aggression. Senator Hawley also asked about the plan to help Taiwan defend itself from China.
Again, we're committed. We've been committed to the support of Taiwan throughout, and again, it's been bipartisan support. We will remain committed to supporting Taiwan, and so we'll have the right options available to protect our interest.
Some China experts have expressed concern about Austin's lack of experience with Asia, saying his knowledge of the Middle East is not what the U.S. needs to deal with threats in the Indo-Pacific. Others argue the defense secretary does not need to be an expert on China, but rather a generalist with a broad vision. Penny Zhou, NTD News.
The outgoing FCC chairman is warning regulators about the threat China poses to telecom networks. NTD's Patrick Hayden reports.
Outgoing Federal Communications Commission Chairman Ajit Pai says potential Chinese spying, threats to U.S. telecom networks and internet freedom are the biggest national security issues for the next 4 years. Pai says he's concerned about a wide array of activities from China, including surveillance and economic espionage. He also says China could potentially inject malware into networks in the US or abroad, and that bad things can happen when insecure equipment is used to handle sensitive information. Pai joined the Trump administration in January 2017 and stepped down on Wednesday. During his tenure, he cracked down on Chinese telecom giants like Huawei and ZTE. Last month, the FCC began the process of revoking China Telecom's authorization to operate in the US. Pai said on Tuesday the Chinese Communist Party has a very determined world view, and they want to dominate this space and exert their will even beyond their own borders. Under his leadership, Huawei and ZTE were designated national security threats. This barred U.S. firms from tapping into more than $8 billion of government funding to buy equipment from companies. Reporting by Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
The Chinese Communist regime continues to release its sigh of relief that President Trump is no longer in office.
This morning, when I saw fireworks and crowds celebrating during the inauguration ceremony, indeed, I really sighed with emotion.
The CCP's foreign ministry spokesperson congratulated the new U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday. She criticized the Trump administration's China policies and said many of them need to be revoked. She said she hoped that President Biden could repair U.S.-China relations.
I believe with the joint efforts of both sides, the kind angels in China-U.S. relations can overcome the evil forces.
Over the past 4 years, the Trump administration ramped up efforts to counter the CCP spy operations and propaganda campaigns in the U.S., its crackdown on Hong Kong, and aggression in the South China Sea. President Biden's nominee for Secretary of State says Trump was right to take a tougher approach on China, but he disagrees with the way it was carried out. 3 Chinese firms want the New York Stock Exchange to reconsider its decision to delist them. It delisted the companies earlier this month. The 3 firms are China Mobile, China Telecom, and China Unicom Hong Kong. The companies asked the exchange to review its decision. The New York Stock Exchange was following an order by President Trump. It bars Americans from investing in companies Washington says have ties to the Chinese military. It's triggered a wide fallout, with U.S. investors quickly selling off stakes and index providers cutting them from their benchmarks. So far, nearly $6 billion have been wiped out from these companies' Hong Kong-traded shares. Now we turn to U.S.-Taiwan relations. For the first time in the past 4 decades, Taiwan's de facto ambassador to the U.S. was invited to a presidential inauguration. Taiwan's top diplomat to the U.S., Xiaobi Kim, posted a video of herself in front of the Capitol building this Wednesday.
I'm honored to be here today on behalf of the people and government of Taiwan at the inauguration of United States President Biden and Vice President Harris.
The committee that manages the inauguration ceremony invited Xiao. In the past, Taiwanese representatives were only allowed to attend if individual members of Congress give them admission tickets. President Jimmy Carter cut diplomatic ties with Taiwan in 1979 in favor of Communist China. Right now, the U.S. and Taiwan do not have any formal diplomatic relationship. The CCP claims Democratic Taiwan as part of its territory, and any U.S.-Taiwan interactions remain a sensitive issue for Beijing. Taiwan's foreign ministry says the invitation, quote, highlights the close and cordial ties between Taiwan and the U.S. In early January, Secretary Pompeo removed all self-imposed rules restricting interactions between U.S. officials and their Taiwanese counterparts. It remains to be seen how U.S.-Taiwan relations will go under the new administration. This week, Pompeo's expected successor, Antony Blinken, mentioned their strong bipartisan support for Taiwan.
There's been a strong and long bipartisan commitment to Taiwan, the Taiwan Relations Act, also the communiques with China. And part of that commitment is making sure that Taiwan have the ability to defend itself against aggression. And that is a commitment that will absolutely endure in a Biden administration. We will make sure that Taiwan has the ability to do that.
Blinken says he would also like to see Taiwan playing a greater role around the world, including in international organizations. The United States is poised to remain a member of the World Health Organization under President Biden. It's also set to join the organization's vaccine program, which aims to deliver vaccine doses to poorer countries. That's according to Dr. Anthony Fauci, Biden's chief medical advisor.
President Biden's chief medical advisor, Dr. Fauci, spoke with the World Health Organization, or WHO, on Thursday. He confirms that the United States would remain a member of the WHO. The Biden administration also plans to join the organization's COVAX vaccine program. The program aims to deliver CCP virus vaccines to poorer countries. The WHO's Director General welcomed the decision. Dr. Fauci also says the U.S. will, quote, fulfill its financial obligations to the WHO. He adds the country would work with other member states on reforms. President Trump previously halted funding to the WHO and announced plans to fully withdraw by June of this year. President Trump criticized the WHO for being China-centric in the initial stages of the CCP virus outbreak. The organization's Director General, however, rejected the charge.
Representative James Comer of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform is criticizing President Biden's decision to rejoin the WHO. He says the organization's priority has been to, quote, abet the Chinese government at the expense of the American people and the rest of the world. While China spread misinformation so it could hoard medical supplies, the WHO parroted China's lies, denying human-to-human transmission of the virus, and Tedros praised them for their transparency. The congressman depicts the WHO as, quote, an organization that has acted as Communist China's propaganda outlet at every turn. He believes American taxpayers should not subsidize the organization. Now we take a look at the CCP virus pandemic in China's capital. Over 1.6 million residents are barred from leaving Beijing right now. The restriction targets a district in Beijing called Daxing. This comes after new CCP virus cases emerged in the area. Beijing is a city of 21 million. Daxing district is now under strict lockdown. A nearby subway station is shut down. All businesses are closed and residents are undergoing mass nucleic acid tests. And Beijing authorities have extended the quarantine period. People arriving in Beijing from overseas now have to be quarantined for at least 20 days. Over 300,000 migrant workers are also barred from entering Beijing. They are stranded in a small town just outside the city and are blocked from entering the capital city as the outbreak worsens in their locality. Chinese billionaire Jack Ma's short video appearance has done little to ease investor concerns about his relationship with Beijing. It's making some hesitant about owning stock in the Chinese e-commerce giant.
Investors of Chinese e-commerce stock Alibaba are having doubts, even after its founder Jack Ma showed up in a public video to ease concerns. The brief appearance comes after he disappeared from the public eye for 3 months. Alibaba shares fell more than 3% on Thursday. Michael Houston, founder of California investment advisory firm Bay Street Capital Holdings, says we all know that just because he showed up doesn't necessarily explain what is going on. Houston says the halting of the Ant IPO caused uncertainty and that Alibaba was not a prudent investment for it going forward. His firm cut its holding in the Chinese firm last year from 8% to less than 1%. Financial advisory company Cumberland Advisors also sold Alibaba when the Ant IPO was pulled. The company's chairman, David Kotak, says when you don't know what to do in an evolving situation like this, you can't use traditional securities analytics to reach decisions. We are standing aside and watching. Chinese regulators are starting to rein in Ma's financial and e-commerce empires, and that has weighed on its stock, which remains below levels prior to the IPO cancellation. Leland Miller, CEO of U.S.-based consultancy China Beige Book, says what his actual state is will be completely up to Beijing to reveal to us. He adds that what we do know is whether Jack is running around, Jack is hiding, or something else. Alibaba is not in the clear. There is a lot more of the story still to see.
A Chinese messaging app is reportedly reading private information on people's computers. It even uploads some of that data to the web. NTD's Don Ma has more on the details.
One messaging app is stuck in the spotlight in mainland China. That's because the app secretly reads users' internet browsing history. The app is called QQ. It's a messaging software made by Chinese tech giant Tencent. It boasts users in the US, China, and other countries. One user in mainland China discovered the secret function on Monday. His computer's antivirus software revealed it to him. Antivirus software can search out suspicious activities on a computer. It revealed that QQ software had looked through all of his internet browsing history. He says QQ has been doing this for more than a year. Through a simple analysis of the software, another user made an even more startling discovery. Not only does it read users' history, but will also upload data to the web. That's including personal shopping history. The user didn't say where the information was sent. In a response, Tencent apologized and admitted that QQ does read browser history of users. But the tech giant claims it's to analyze security risks relating to the user's account. QQ has faced scrutiny in the past relating to security concerns. Just last week, former U.S. President Donald Trump banned the use of QQ Wallet in the U.S., an online payment service app. He says the app continues to threaten the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. QQ has also been criticized for its compliance with the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, and its internet surveillance censorship. A report by Reporters Without Borders, an organization dedicated to the freedom of information, says QQ has allowed Chinese authorities to monitor online conversations and track users. In one case in 2017, authorities used a QQ post to track down and arrest the poster. A business professor at a Chinese college was sentenced to more than 3 years in prison for posting images relating to the Falun Gong spiritual group. The practice is currently deemed illegal by the CCP. In 2018, QQ reported roughly 800 million active users worldwide. That's more than twice that of Twitter. Don Ma, NTD News.
Now we look to Hong Kong. Top lawyer David Perry in Hong Kong has quit, citing widespread criticism and quarantine issues. He was hired by the Hong Kong Justice Department to prosecute Hong Kong activists. The case is against 9 democracy activists. Among them are media mogul Jimmy Lai and Hong Kong's father of democracy, Martin Lee. Jimmy Lai owns the Apple Daily. The outlet has a reputation of being fiercely critical of the city government, which is backed by the CCP. His prosecution is widely considered part of Beijing's battle against dissidents in the former British colony. British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab told Sky TV in an interview on Sunday that Perry handed the Chinese regime a PR coup and behaved in a pretty mercenary way. Now to Vietnam, where the government has licensed a Taiwanese tech company to build a new manufacturing plant. It's said to be a $270 million project. The finished factory will produce electronic devices like laptops and tablets. The plant will be built in northern Vietnam and is expected to produce 8 million units annually once operational. Taiwan's Foxconn Technology, an Apple supplier, has so far invested $1.5 billion in the country. It reportedly plans to raise its investment by $700 million and recruit 10,000 more workers this year. Vietnam state media also reported Foxconn is looking into investing $1.3 billion in another province. That's part of a separate project. Foxconn is moving some of its iPad and MacBook assembly operations to Vietnam from China. A person with knowledge of the plan revealed in November the move comes at Apple's request. At the time, the U.S. firm diversified production to minimize the impact of U.S.-China trade tensions. India-based newspaper Economic Times reported, citing people familiar with the matter. Apple is set to move even more factories in the future. Those slated for relocation produce iPhone components, iPads, AirPods, and MacBooks. Some Apple suppliers from China and Taiwan are also working on plans to move parts of their operations to India. That's including BYD Electronics, Luxshare Precision Industry, and Quanta Computer Incorporated. Now we look at the Indian-Chinese border. According to the U.S.-based imaging company Planet Labs, China has built a village of over 100 houses inside Indian territory. The village is built 2.5 miles over the Chinese border near Tibet. New Delhi Television reported the news Monday, citing Planet Labs' analysis. The area is densely forested and few people live there. It has been under effective occupation of the CCP since a military standoff nearby in 1959. A year ago, only a small Chinese military camp existed in the dense forest. Now a village with the capacity to house thousands stands there. It's not clear if it will be occupied by the Chinese army. The Indian External Affairs Ministry stated on Monday that India will respond by speeding up border infrastructure projects, including roads and bridges. And that's all for today's China in Focus. But before you go, as of yesterday, this channel has been demonetized on YouTube. That means our ability to have ads or earn money has been stopped. So if you can, donate below or like this video so more can see it. Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow. Hi, we're happy to announce that you can also catch us on cable TV now. Millions of households already choose us as one of their trusted news sources, and you can too. You can watch us in Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York, and many other cities as well. And if your system doesn't carry NTD yet, you can just give them a quick call and request NTD on your cable provider. Thank you for watching. See you next time.